All right, welcome back to the Unanimous Decision Podcast. I am your host, DPalm. Follow me on Twitter at DPalm66. Follow the show on Twitter at UDPod. Follow the entire internet network at the UNTR Network. We got everything for you. You know what? I don't care what else we have. Today, we have UGA football. Today we have a playoff. We have an SEC champion. We have a playoff bound team. You found the show, don't lose the show. Subscribe in the iTunes store. Take that next step. Leave a 5-star review. It helps us because it lets the advertisers and people know that people actually listen. It helps you because it lets you voice your opinions about the show, good, bad, or indifferent. If it's 5 stars, I'll read it on the air. If you have more you want to say, hey, or maybe it's not 5 stars yet, shoot me an email at udpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know how we get to that 5-star place in your heart so that I can earn that 5 stars from you. But hey, we're a free podcast and you get what you pay for. Just kidding. I'm just giddy. This is all just happiness. We're at episode 72, and this is the first one I can tell you is actually pure joy. There's no reservations yet. There's no unease yet. It's happiness. It's joy, and I've got someone to share it with. Because honestly, when I sent you the email, I said it says Georgia will probably hurt us. Let's open with that. Right? That's what the email says.
Oh boy, they hurt us for a quarter, didn't they?
Oh my goodness! Y'all should recognize the voice, Chad Floyd, editor-in-chief over at DudeYouCrazy, my former football home on the internet. Look, man, I'm still I know it happened, and I'm not worried anymore. But we just whipped their asses,
Man, from the start of from the end of the third quarter to the start of the fourth quarter, switching from stress bourbon to happy bourbon.
Okay,
Put a little bit more ice in it just so it goes down a little quicker.
In a second. Can we agree that may be, for my money, that was the best defensive performance I've seen in college football this year?
Oh my God! I mean, the first drive, Auburn got bailed out by a couple of things. Beyond that, there was nothing.
I refuse to argue about these refs. The refs are the refs. It's fine.
Hey, you know what? I don't care about the refs because I see the scoreboard right now. But no, man. They completely shut down Auburn between the tackles, which basically does not allow Jarrett Stidham then to get anything to the outside, and it was just lights out. I mean, Roquan Smith, by the way, can I just go ahead and say, Roquan Smith, go get your money, son. You're a top 15 pick in my book. Go get paid because you were a monster.
College football games and then never think about college football again in your life.
And what's funny, and I know you and I are kind of on the NCAA bandwagon. He was the one that showed his agency and said, and wrote out his recruitment past signing day a few years ago.
And everyone talking about what a diva move it was. No, this kid knows he's a smart kid, and guess what? He's the best linebacker in college football.
And he is wearing red and black, and God, oh man, and he was just killing people yesterday.
Murdering people. Sideline to sideline, tracking people down, playing great coverage, getting pressure on the quarterback. It was a thing to behold. And people are going to talk about the freshman quarterback as they should. They're going to talk about the return of running back U, as we're about to talk about next. But I don't want this lost. This is a dominant and aggressive defensive unit.
Yes, and it's going to be challenged. We'll talk about that eventually, but my God, I mean the speed that they closed on Auburn's players with yesterday, and what they were doing a lot more of yesterday than in the first Auburn game was getting some more delayed blitzes, but that really only worked because the secondary was lights out as well. I mean, that was the best game the secondary played all year.
100%. What happened a lot was they were running those sting blitzes to get in that safety pressure, but what they wouldn't do is roll pre-snap. So game one, they were doing a lot of roll pre-snap to show that heavy box, but that was allowing Kerryon Johnson to adjust his patterns and people to run hot routes. By doing it from depth, it throws off the timing of the offense to pick it up because people are going to be engaged in their blocks by the time that safety breaks the line of scrimmage. It was just so... I couldn't believe it kept working. That the inside safety blitz kept working. It's just there was no response on the Auburn sideline. That's what threw me off, honestly, and that's what the moment I was like, we may walk away with this game. And look, man, that was as far as what you want to see out of a freshman quarterback. That was he. I don't want to say managed the game because he did better than that, but really that's what they asked him to do.
Yeah, and just with the way Auburn got pressure with the front four in the first game, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the directive was to get it out quick. I mean, he looked downfield a couple of times and then just immediately swung it out to the back in the flats. And when you have Sony Michel and Nick Chubb and DeAndre Swift, you can do that. And so some of those cuts that Sony Michel was making, I mean, those things would have been mean on Madden. Like to see that in actual game action was like Reggie Bush level, just rude.
It was some like you're 100% some video game stuff, man. It was something to behold, and it was kind of and this is a secret that's been brewing in Athens since I'd say probably 06, 05 maybe, where the idea of Georgia as tailback U was truly back. And you'd see it with like a recruiting class. You'd see they pick up 1 or 2 4 and 5-star guys, and like the Keith Marshall Gurley years, and you'd see them kind of platoon, and they would work together. But invariably, something would happen: an injury, timing wise, someone would get, or maybe a line would get hurt. But what happened? And then the next guys behind them weren't quite as talented. What happened this year was with Sony and Nick coming back, was that they had stockpiled 3 classes of these dual running backs. So by the time you're saying Georgia needs to salt this game away, but I hope the backs don't get tired, we've got a freshman
and Michelle was out after the third quarter.
Yeah,
too.
Sony Michel's out, and the running game got better. That's what should scare. But that's what should scare. I'm saying the SEC East right now, and the SEC in general, is the fact that by Sony and Nick set a precedent by not leaving. Who's the first running back who's leaving early? Who's the one who walks in that room and says, "Hey, I know better than Nick Chubb. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I think you should always go get your money." But I'm telling you, a culture precedent got set this year because look at the success that comes because of those seniors.
And you look at a situation too where these guys are splitting reps effectively enough to where you're still not going to have that tread on, the mileage on your legs, which is a big talking point when you talk about running backs for the draft. First 3 snaps of the game, Georgia put Chubb in there for snap 1, Michel in there for snap 2, Swift in there for snap 3. And then what's crazy is at the end of the game when it's settled and you're just milking clock, you go to Brian Harrion and Elijah Holyfield, 2 more sophomores, by the way, who can get the job done. I mean, Holyfield had a couple of huge runs. And it just keeps on coming. They've got 2 more elite guys coming in next year.
And that's the scary thing is that because particularly in this newly non-regionalized, nationalized version of college football, success begets success. People say, "Oh, Georgia, their recruiting has changed so much in the last 2 years." What's really changed in the last 5 years is where talent-rich Atlanta, Georgia's been putting down stakes. They're saying, Atlanta's our backyard. Everything that you want to see why Clemson got good? Clemson started recruiting Atlanta.
And recruiting it well. And they pulled some names out of Florida, and then they were taking the top guys in South Carolina. But absolutely, there is a lot of ATL on that depth chart still. Here's the other thing about that, if we're just going to harp on the running game. This offensive line was supposed to suck this year. And, man,
let's be really real.
I mean, going back 2 years in the Schottenheimer just abortion of an offense, that offensive line was ass. Last year, you still had getting the Schottenheimer stink off of you, so it was ass as well. I mean, Andrew Thomas, true freshman, out there playing at right tackle. You have young guys across the board. You have Lamont Gaylord, who has finally settled into a spot at center. And if I'm not mistaken,
so good for us too.
Yeah, and you saw Smart's reaction when he went down, saying, I mean, come on, anybody but him was basically his reaction. Smart has surrender Cobra, basically. If I'm not mistaken, there's only one senior on that offensive line, and they recruited basically a whole offensive line of 5 stars last year.
Yep.
So that's only going to get better. So you put 5-star running backs with a 5-star offensive line and a damn competent, whoever the quarterback is because they got 3 5-stars of those on campus.
which is
I mean,
which is
what the hell, man? This is going to
problem.
get stupid.
I feel so weird. And Connor Tapp, Meet Me at Taps on Twitter, he tweeted out, "I would like to congratulate Georgia for being the first Saban colony to achieve statehood."
I saw that.
And first of all, it's mean, but it's also very funny and also very true. The Saban offshoots haven't actually reached this threshold yet.
No. And I made this point on the preview show for the Dude You podcast last week. This team's still a year ahead of its trajectory. They're going to lose a lot of talent on defense, but this is, last year was the reset year, and the fact that they are already in the playoff here in year 2, good on you, Greg McGarity. You made the right decision.
This is one of those situations where Rick's leaving was best for everyone.
Yeah, it did not work out so terribly for Rick until the past 8 days or so.
But 8 days, well, let's be real, they're ahead of schedule too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
that he's well ahead of schedule with that job. And the presence of him has actually affected how we're going to look at this Florida State job. We'll talk about later on in the podcast.
I agree. Yeah. And I wouldn't go so far as to say that played a role in Jimbo leaving Florida State, but we'll get there.
$75 million.
Guaranteed.
$75 million. We'll talk about that later, but there's a list of things I wouldn't do for $75 million, and it is short. And actually, the more I talk about it, the less I think there's a list.
I don't really know if, there's maybe an item, but not a list.
Not a list. It's definitely not a list. List is too strong. This is getting. I honestly, and I think this is a byproduct of what happened in February, is that I've forgotten how to really feel joy, sports related, because I'm so scared of the second shoe falling. But after that fumble recovery, I wasn't. Once I figured out their gimmick offense wasn't going to have enough gimmick, I felt okay.
I needed the fumble recovery just.
Yeah, that's when I really relaxed.
Say we don't want to talk about the officiating or anything. No, they did take points off the board from Georgia, but
we won. I'm not going to do it.
Okay. Well, from my perspective,
this would be a 2-hour bitch fest about the refs, but we didn't. God, yeah. So.
Okay, well, as long as we have out there that we would have had a case had that been the case.
This would have been a not very entertaining podcast. It would have been a very upset, the review would have been like, first episode of Dude You podcast, or excuse me, unanimous decision. That was a very angry show. Yeah, well, that's how we live. But yeah, we will get back to some more college football stuff later. But what was your immediate reaction? Is it joy? Is it happiness? Is it trepidation? How do you feel before looking ahead, just coming out of this game? I feel, honest to God, hopeful for this team, for what they've been able to do in 2 years.
Oh yeah. From a long-term perspective, as we were just discussing, they're set up for a run, and with Alabama starting to show cracks, maybe, I don't know, we'll get to that. But no, it was just joy to see, to see guys like Chubb and Michelle, who had kind of gone through some adversity, win the big one, and then. At the end of the day, Georgia's SEC champs for the first time in 12 years. What happens in the playoff happens in the playoff. Exactly. But and I think all four teams are going to be fairly evenly matched. So it's really going to be kind of a crapshoot. But just to get there is a hell of an achievement.
I think that's been lost kind of in the nationalization of college football, because it used to be a regional sport. Winning the SEC used to be the goal of teams.
Mm-hmm.
The Big Ten, I think, got one national title from 1969 and 2002. Or excuse me, half of one that split one with Michigan. So that was the goal. The goal was to win your conference, go win your bowl game, and now it's changed, and that's fine. But man, it feels good to win the SEC, man.
Yes, it does.
It feels good.
Cannot disagree with a thing. Whew. And especially, coming out with the SEC, being the era where you have kind of the conference tribalism and everything.
Yeah.
South Carolina goes to Shreveport and wins the Independence Bowl, and people are chanting SEC. I've never been a fan of conference tribalism. That's who you recruit against. That's who you play against. It's ridiculous.
Those are rivals.
But to win that conference for the first time since that really took off.
Yeah.
Wait, I can drop the SEC network cliche here. Palmer, it just means more.
I hate you so much. I hate like that. You're lucky we've got the rest of the podcast to cover. I don't want to do it alone. Let's move on to the combat sports before we dive into more football. Because, well, first of all, the craziest thing about it is what it took for me to talk about UFC today is for a fighter who'll never step foot in an octagon again to get in the news. So the reports have been spotty, but they started, I think, a week and a half ago. I texted Chris about it because I'd read something in a small Irish fight magazine randomly, and it's gotten legs. It looks like Conor McGregor in Ireland was involved in some sort of dust-up with some very dangerous people. And so the idea in the world of organized crime and MMA have gone hand in hand for a long time. One of the co-owners of McGregor's gym in Ireland is allegedly affiliated with such organizations. And apparently there was a bar brawl. And Conor got the better of it because he's a professional fighter.
As one does.
But now there's a massive bounty on his head, apparently. He's on his way out of Ireland, it looks like. He's trying to leave. And this is coming out like real old, like Irish crime reporters. Like it's trickling into MMA news, but it's becoming like Dana White got asked about it. It's turning into a mainstream story, and like Conor McGregor's never going to fight MMA again. He needs to give those belts back. But Chad, are we in a place where like we're having this intersection of like celebrity and crime that doesn't really occur anymore? Like it used to be like the jokes about who had bookies and like who was in whose pocket, but like you don't really see that happen anymore in sports. This is a little weird.
I mean, if you had told me it was anybody else that is in the sport or really even entertainment industry on the planet, it would have been a lot weirder and more shocking. To have Conor McGregor having issues with the Irish mob, man, that just feels like 2017. I'm going to be honest with you.
Like, it feels like a word jumble. Like, what are you talking about? Like, but at the same time, when you hear how it happened, you're like, well, that sounds kind of like Conor.
Yeah. I've really got none of this shocks me at all. I'm surprised that it took this long.
I don't know Conor McGregor, but he does strike me as the guy who would hit someone you're not supposed to hit.
Oh, and he would seek out that person to hit probably too. Like this was no accident on Conor McGregor's part. It could also be a play for him to, maybe get back in the octagon again. Who knows?
No. He's gonna box. He's gonna box people for way more money than they'll ever pay him to fight. Like he's gonna do the fake boxing thing. He's gonna tour. It's gonna be great. He's gonna make tons of money. He got paid all that money to do that with McGregor. With Mayweather. He will never get in an octagon again, ever.
And I don't blame him. I mean, all you had to do is dance around for eight rounds or whatever it was. But hey.
So out of the front offices of the NFL this week, big story was apparently Malcolm Jenkins and other players agreeing to end their protests in response to the league pledging $89 million to aid with social issues. One of the statements likened it to their breast cancer awareness and Our Cause, Our Cleats campaigns, both of which are largely given mouth service by the NFL and no real change or impact. I think it's interesting to see the reactions to this because they say $89 million, which one is a very strange number. Mm-hmm. Like just give 90 or 100. But that breaks down to roughly over 7 years. So 7 years, $250,000 per owner, which is half the salary of the place kicker for the Raiders.
Yep. That would be the issue.
Let's not even talk about where the money's going. It's going to the United Negro College Fund, which I guess, but like having degrees doesn't get you not shot by the police. And let's make that very clear that the message here isn't help black people. It's hey, let's have cops stop killing black people. And People say they want a dialogue, and there's no dialogue with stop killing us. There's no, well, can we kill some of you? There's none of that. That's not a dialogue. You don't negotiate with that. And I think what's crazy is that not just the amount they pledged, but the fact that they pledged it at all shows you that any claim that the players say that the owners don't care is completely merited. Because if they cared, Chad, you know how they'd affect real change? By saying something. It's free.
It costs nothing to say something, but I mean, and you've known this for a long time. Everything they do is going to be lip service because they don't really want to address any issues.
Of course.
I mean, it's just a shame, and to just continue to flub just doing something to make the shit right, you know? I mean, it's not so hard to see like a couple of ways to affect real change, but they keep on losing the issue just based on, I mean, they're making it more about the protest than why they're protesting in the first place. And they're still doing that. And it's really hard to watch. I mean, I've watched maybe a quarter of an NFL game all year, and it's not completely related, but there's definitely a correlation there.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, and people are trying to refute what you and I are saying here, and it's so wild because people will say, you heard Goodell, like, people don't come to NFL games to be protested at, and it reminds you who they're talking about. It's the reason that Hank Williams opens Monday Night Football. It's because when they think of median Americans, they don't think of anyone besides white people, and for that matter, racist white people. Like, I don't know, this isn't me. The NFL is telling you that the median American's a racist white person.
Well, when's the last time you went to an NFL game? Because
I'm not going to refute that point. It's wild to me. And what's even wilder is that as these, the reports of, and there are lots of reasons for it, but the NFL numbers dropping, it's oversaturation, it's blah, blah, blah. NBA numbers are up across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, it's a younger, more inclusive, more global, more forward thinking.
How's that coded language working out?
They do all this shit. Like, even let's take away any sort of social stance. Let's just take their stance on streaming. Can you still get kicked off Twitter for sharing NFL gifs?
Yep.
like the NBA's like, fucking share them. People get engaged. It's crazy. The numbers are up. NFL's like, why aren't people watching? Well, first of all, the Dolphins have 8 primetime games this year. Who ever thought that was a good idea? But yeah, it's just, for me, it's just wild, man. Like, 89 million feels like a slap in the face, and the bigger slap in the face is like Malcolm Jenkins being like, I'm not going to put my fists up anymore. And I'm not going to put aspersions onto why he's doing it. He released his statement. He can read his word for himself. I'm just telling you, it doesn't look great, Malcolm.
No, and I like that the players pretty much immediately came out and said, yeah, they're not going to support the Malcolm Jenkins saga.
Yeah, everybody's like, oh no, he don't talk for us anymore.
Yeah.
Which is 100% fair and 100% true. And
sorry, I just lost a headset there.
You're good. I thought you either fell or something. I was like, I figured you'd still been drinking for the big win last night. In case you didn't hear, Georgia won. No big deal. Stick in the NFL for a second. Eli Manning got benched. It's a benching I think's been coming for a while. 2 years ago I would have benched him. I think he had 27 picks, 18 touches that year. The wildest part for me has been the reaction. But I guess more and more as I step further back from it, I guess the Giants could have handled it better. But Chad, is it wild how much respect they have for him now? Because I've heard Giants fans cuss out Eli Manning on Sundays.
My issue with it is that Manning lost Brandon Marshall, Odell Beckham, and Dwayne Harris all within 2 weeks. I mean, he's kind of playing with a hand tied behind his back. The issue is not so much that Eli Manning was benched, having said that. The issue is who he was benched for. Like, you're not winning football games in the future by throwing Geno Smith out there.
They're not trying to win football games.
But play Davis Webb then. Spend a third-round pick on him.
Davis Webb was that was a miss, clearly.
Yeah, well,
they're admitting Davis Webb was a miss.
Yeah, but if you're not trying to win football games, then go ahead and make sure not to win football games.
We're also not going to go out there and embarrass ourselves. And let's be real. Like, okay, let's do this Geno thing for real right now. So we say that Eli had his hands tied behind his back was as opposed to that offensive powerhouse that Geno was leading in when he was the quarterback in the Jets.
That's
The
fair.
year he had his last 6 games of that last season he started, he was trending upward. He was coming into the next season with Brandon Marshall. He looked good in the first preseason game, and then he got his face broken.
So you're saying Geno is
I'm not a Geno truther. I'm saying that Geno going onto the field Sunday with no weapons should feel familiar for him.
That's fair.
I'm like, oh, that's how he thinks football is at this point. Like, he had Brandon Marshall. Like, first of all, Brandon Marshall stays on teams that don't make playoffs. Like, even when he's healthy, he's never made the playoffs. This is crazy. He's
the Sharif Abdur-Rahim of the NFL.
Everywhere he goes, quarterback numbers go up, but they don't make the playoffs. It's insane. He's had the weirdest career. But yeah, I think that I'm not saying Geno is gonna win. Like, Geno's not gonna win football games. I just don't think Geno is the poison that they want him to be. But I do understand that that's a market that's already been traumatized by Geno.
Yeah, and I mean the biggest thing to come out of this really is there's no way Ben McAdoo has a job like after this podcast posts. I don't know exactly when it's posting, but
it's posting Monday morning, so.
We're gonna be right on. We're gonna be right on the line there.
Ooh, this is a tight one.
Yeah, we might be outdated before we even post, man. That happens to me all the time.
But I think you're right. I think this is going to cost McAdoo his job, which I think is ridiculous. He didn't decide to bench him. The GM decided to bench him. Like, and I like, what I really do think is going to be really funny is this offseason, because Ben McAdoo has no reason to have any allegiance to anyone in that building. The Mannings are secretly messy as fuck. Remember how Eli got to the Giants? He refused to go to San Diego. The Mannings are messy. Like, this can get super ugly, and I am 1,000% here for it. And I'm especially here for the Eli Manning revenge tour as Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback next year.
Oh my God, that's something I.
Peak Eli is always been like just above competent, and that's what the Jacksonville Jaguars need to like make a run in the playoffs.
That's all they need.
Just above competent.
That's all they need.
He's not going to go. He's not going to go win you games, but by God, he maybe loses you a couple, but normally he'll let you decide your own fate. That's how Eli is. His best is like
he's the world's most boring choose your own adventure novel.
His best season. He's not a great quarterback. He's only playoff wins of the years he won Super Bowls, which is either really weird statistically or a reflection of a great team around him. He's not going to elevate anyone, but he probably won't be an albatross. However, you're right. I think one, it's who he's getting benched for. You're right, and two, it was just handled poorly. It was just mismanaged. It was just a fumble from an organizational standpoint. A not so fumble from an organizational standpoint. Look. I'm not saying Crabtree deserved to have his chain snatched. That'd be a wrong and mean thing to say. I am saying he put that chain on with the expectation of it being snatched, and I'm not just saying that because he taped it to his chest, which is my favorite wrinkle. I'm saying that because last year the old buddy said, I'm going to snatch his chain if he wears it in front of me. He wore it in front of him. He snatched it. Crabtree wanted the ref. We all had a good laugh. Why would this year be any different?
Yeah, now you have a history behind it. Like, I don't really know what Crabtree's angle was there, but you knew you were going to get that chain snatched.
Like, that's my question. Like, do you think it was like, I'm going to wear it because no one's going to punk me out of wearing my chain?
Aqib Talib, noted respectful NFL cornerback. Yeah, I don't really know what Tree's angle was, but he knew he was going to get that chain snatch.
I know, but like, he knew because he had tape. And my other question is, what kind of tape was it? What do you think?
I'm going to go with the regular old, just like ankle tape.
Like athletic tape?
Yeah. A little bit more sweat-proof. And,
If it's athletic tape, then like he can't Talib's got to do like an advertisement for the competitor. Like, hey, couldn't snatch his chain because he used the right tape. Like, I just think that.
Well, I mean, Scotch tape, that's coming right off.
Oh, Scotch is
Soon.
never an option. No. Like, I would even like, I'd be like, you could sell electrical tape with this.
Okay, yeah. And I guess it would really come down to, did he tape all the way around his torso, or did he just? Because I mean, if
himself into some kind of horrid tape monster. I hope not, because if so, he really got his shit snatched.
well, I'm just saying, if you electrical tape your whole torso, that chain ain't going anywhere.
That's true. That's how we know it's not what he did, because the chain was on the ground again. And so they get hit with 2 games suspensions. They get reduced to 1. I got to ask you, Chad. These two are in the same division. Next year, we're having the same podcast.
I mean, every good sequel deserves a trilogy. So, yeah, we will have Chain Snatching 3, the Chain Snatchering, and it's going to be glorious.
Ewoks and shit. It's going to be good.
And then they're both going to be suspended for 4 games. It's going to be great.
Which is ridiculous. By the way, them being suspended at all is ridiculous. Kick him out, fine, whatever. That's nuts. This is not, and it's, guess what? Clearly, it's not going to deter them.
Yeah.
Because Tree believes on principle he has to wear the chain, and to live on principle believes he has to snatch it. So, as long as these two play, it's going to happen. Just turn to the skid. Just, I would have a running clock in the stadium. You'd be able to bet on what time they get ejected.
You know what? That'll definitely be a prop bet in Vegas next year. So, first Raiders Broncos matchup. I think we've got a buddy that spends enough time in Vegas that we can get him to place a bet for us.
I'll make a phone call or two.
Yep.
Let's get that. All right, so Blake Griffin went down last week. And before that, the Clippers weren't exactly setting the world on fire. You got Austin Rivers fighting with fans getting fined by the league for calling them fair weather fans. First of all, if you are a Clippers fan, you are by definition a fair weather fan because no one likes them, period. Like, if you were like, I rock with the Clippers in the last 5 years, congratulations, you're a fair weather fan.
And if you're still trying to hold on to Lob City, that's another issue.
So my question to you, Chad, is Steve Ballmer trying to find his receipt?
Steve Ballmer is by no means a dumb man, but you know what? He bought at high buying season.
He bought high.
He bought real high. The fact that he's still allowing Doc Rivers to wield as much influence as he is.
Didn't they fire Doc GM though?
Yeah, but he's still Doc, so he's still Doc GM.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point.
Hold on, I'm going to pull up some stats here for the Los Angeles Clippers. But no, I mean, you fired Doc GM and you still got Doc. That's going to be a problem.
The fact that Austin Rivers is still on the roster tells you Doc GM is still in the building.
That's what I was actually pulling up. Austin Rivers is second on this team in minutes per game.
But is that a reflection of a father's love, or is it a reflection of oh my god, this roster, oh my god?
I'd rather be playing Lou Williams at point guard, or
would you? Well, damn.
Would you not?
I said it, and I was like, I guess I would. Well,
yeah, and Patrick Beverly, I think, has been hurt, maybe?
2017. Lou Williams is not the kid who was on Bow Wow's Cribs anymore. Lou Williams is like a grown-ass old man now.
Yeah, but he's still not Austin Rivers.
I don't know how you meant that. I don't know who that was insulting towards. But, yeah, the Clippers you got to sell everything, right? Think about it. 3 years ago, they were having, Twitter wars and, locking condos in Houston over DeAndre fucking Jordan, and now it's everything must go.
I mean, yeah, you can get pennies on the dollar for DeAndre, trading him to the Mavs, who are I can't believe how bad they've been this year, honestly. But, man, I mean, yeah, you got to set fire to this thing, fire everybody, let Blake Griffin come back, play. Just let him rack up some numbers and then trade him to the Knicks or something. Because this thing's over.
Man, it was fun while it lasted.
It was. The worst part about it is with Blake Griffin going down, people aren't going to trust his bulky knees so much anymore either.
No.
So there is not really an asset on this team, so they can just dive on in with the Hawks and the Nets and everybody who's rebuilding and just pray for some ping pong balls, man. Marvin Bagley sweepstakes coming at you.
Whatever, man. Okay, let's do that for a second. Because you were one of my friends who actually watches college basketball. Give me like a couple minutes of what we should look for in any future NBA stars.
I have watched literally one half of basketball, and it was awful. Of college basketball. I don't get into college basketball until football's over, and luckily I got plenty to watch for football going forward. But I will say that from everything I can gather, Duke is going to be a tough out because they are by far the most talented team in college basketball. I said most talented. I did not say best team. Marvin Bagley's 6'10", kind of inside outside. He's almost, the fact that he's left-handed, he's almost like a Michael Beasley with more of a Kevin Durant oriented game. So I don't really know where you go with that, but he's been pretty spectacular. Michigan State is going to be a problem. They got Miles Bridges, who's probably, I mean, at worst, he's like an Iguodala in the NBA, I'd say. And then beyond that, I mean, it's the cluster of 10 to 12 teams. You've got like your North Carolina still sticking around there deep and don't really have the NBA talent, but have a strong team. You got your Villanovas, your Kentuckys. The SEC is actually flexing its muscle in non-conference a little bit early on.
All right, then. Look at you. That's your college basketball minute so far?
That's my college basketball minute. Oh, and just in a fun note, Arizona was ranked number 2 in the country, and NC State, my probable least favorite school, beat them in the first round of some tournament. Arizona State proceeded to lose the next game to some no-name school and then lost the 7th place game in the same tournament to Purdue, I think. So Arizona, probably not good. Not a good win for NC State. Suck at NC State, as always.
I'll tell you what, man. What's really funny to me is that no matter what, you're going to hate NC State. And that's just really refreshing to hear from you.
Oh, man. I mean, well, Duke, and I know Bowman Jones says this a lot, like it's a healthy, respectful pettiness.
With Duke?
Yeah. With NC State, they're annoying because they care more about Carolina losing than they do NC State winning.
So it's like Georgia and Tech.
It is very much like Georgia and Tech, but Georgia and Tech aren't in the same conference. They're not going to the Thanksgiving table together.
That's true.
So, at that Thanksgiving table, you've got basically the cousin who drives a red Camaro and gets a new one on lease like every other year and is, comes to Thanksgiving, drinks his iced tea and throws a dip in while everybody's still eating. Actually, that's
NC State's the fun cousin. That's good. I love college basketball because it's the only sport where rankings matters so much less than college football. It's ridiculous.
They mean nothing.
Nothing.
They mean nothing.
There will guesses.
There will be like some 9 seed from a conference that you and I could not identify that will make the Final Four. Happens every year. And people are like, oh, watch out for this team. And they'll be like, their little brother program. So college basketball, still really fun in March, but for the other 11 months of the year, do something else. And and I will go ahead a little bit more meta on this. They have switched the programming of college basketball so much to where, it's not about teams or anymore. It's about getting NBA draft fans to watch college basketball. Like ESPN, every game is, top freshmen. Hey, who are your sleeper seniors? Hey, who are the guys who could fit on playoff teams and start next, or and be in the rotation next year? I mean, it's all geared towards what's this guy going to do in the NBA. So that's.
Well, we talked about it earlier. The NBA numbers are going up. It's a smart base to try to attract. Like if that's the place where the numbers lie, let's get these people because you're not going to get them on the quality of the game.
No, sir, you're not. That one half of basketball I did watch was UNC and Michigan State in the final of the Phil Knight tournament. UNC has played 3,000 games of basketball and has never had a worse field goal percentage than they did in that game. So, like I said, I only got a half of that in.
That sounds just absolutely horrible.
Shot 24%.
Oh no. God, I love you, NBA. Let's talk about college football. Let's talk about the coaching carousel because a lot of crazy shit's happened since I recorded with Connor last week.
Oh man.
So last year there was a rumor going around about Jimbo Fisher leaving FSU for LSU. This year, Jimbo Fisher did leave FSU for A&M for $75 million.
I was going to say, Chad, I don't really think the school's relevant. I mean, you could have said
Chad, I have to ask, though. When you're Jimbo Fisher, and in the last, let's call it 24 months, you've had opportunities to live in Tallahassee, Baton Rouge, or College Station, how do you end up in College Station? And I believe you already know the answer, don't you?
Dollar bills, y'all.
75 million of them. Guaranteed. Like, that's so much money.
Besides Saban, nobody makes more than Jimbo Fisher, and Saban's money ain't all guaranteed at all.
No. He hits it because he wins. And here's guaranteed.
And here's the fun part. I think Fisher's done, man. I think the past couple of years have just shown that he's a burnout guy.
I don't know about that, but I do know about this. What the hell do you think A&M's expecting? Because let's remember the last A&M national title was 1939. But you're not giving him $75 million to not win national titles, right?
I don't think so because Kevin Sumlin was doing a great job of going 8-5 and not winning national titles, and still doing everything else that makes a SEC program look good. Just playing in the shadow of Nick Saban.
Let's be real too. Kevin Sumlin is being paid $10 million to go away. They're paying $75 million for Jimbo to be there. This is a job that's tied up with $85 million guaranteed. This is not, and I hope for their sake you're wrong about Jimbo being washed up or burnt out, because that's a lot of committed money to a lot of expected success. There's got to be some ROI here, and I'm not sure you can do it in College Station.
I don't know that you can get that ROI anywhere.
Well, I think $75 million, it goes, like, there are places where clearly the commitment and the organization and things around it allow you to get almost guarantee, like at Alabama, there's only two types of coaches. Coaches who won national titles and coaches who weren't there very long.
Coaches who have statues and coaches who don't.
I mean, that's really the two types of coaches at Alabama. So that's kind of a place where the resources and the communities want to and desire for titles allows that to be existent.
But
this has never been that place.
I would argue that College Station has that.
But the thing is, it's never been that place. It doesn't know how to get there. Like,
exactly.
It's one thing to say we were there, we fell off some bit, we need to get back. There's no roadmap to do it in College Station.
Yeah, and 5 years ago, if you make this move, you say, "Oh man, A&M's coming in guns blazing to the SEC." But at this point, you're dealing with a likely, at some point, resurgent Texas program. You're dealing with legitimate competition from TCU, who could have had an outside shot at the playoff had they won yesterday. And, well, I'm not going to say Baylor anymore. And then you've got Oklahoma right up the road. I mean, Oklahoma and Texas, both with young, dynamic head coaches in place. You've really got to bank on that SEC cachet still holding water.
People assume that because you're in Texas, you're going to recruit well. Rice is in Texas. SMU's in Texas. There are schools that don't get a whole lot of success just because they live in Texas. UTEP is in Texas.
Well, UTEP is more in Juarez, Mexico, but
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
too.
But you're making a point. I respect that.
I'm making a point. I'm making a larger schematic point about it. But yeah, this is crazy. The other crazy part of this is the back half of it. So for the first time since the 60s, there's an open job at FSU.
Yeah.
And it's a very real question to say, what kind of job is that now? Because this turned from like an understanding about an underperforming season to very ugly very fast. I think that in retrospect, in like a year or two, the FSU faithful will have a better, more logical view of the Jimbo era. But it got that hot. That fire got hot real quick, didn't it?
Oh man, it really did. And it's unlike any coaching search I've ever seen because Texas A&M comes out and says we've identified Jimbo Fisher as our guy, and everybody kind of laughs it off, and then the talks get more serious, and all of a sudden FSU Twitter is in full uproar, not at anything but deriding Jimbo Fisher, a guy who, if you'll recall, took a program that was basically a 6-6 program, took them back to a national title, and really got them back on their feet as one of the elite places in the modern era. And Fisher, behind the scenes, also was doing a lot of lobbying to modernize the program, be it from a facility and booster base, and was always getting pushback on that. So from that standpoint, maybe I'm a little premature in saying he's a burnout guy, but this is more of an FSU problem than it is a Jimbo Fisher problem.
I agree, and $75 million was the number. And you couldn't hit and that's what's more shocking to me than anything. Like maybe the whole thing was sorted and you're not used to it because, like I said, haven't had a vacancy since the 60s. The world has changed since then, particularly in college football, and particularly with these coaches' contracts. But if you got the number and you couldn't, at FSU, on the heels of a guy who won you national title in the last 5 years, you couldn't muster that or anything close to it?
I think that's a number where they were happy to get a fresh start.
But I get it, but that fear, that unknown, particularly after 50 some odd years of stability, is going to be an interesting one because without getting too in the weeds, the FSU boosters infect everything that occurs on that campus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's me being as oblique about it as I can.
Yep, that was kind of part of my point of Fisher kind of fighting them to modernize the program. For better or for worse, that might be something that keeps a Willie Taggart at Oregon or gives Scott this is the worst headset in the history of headsets. Give Scott Frost a reason to take the damn Nebraska job instead of staying in a state where he just went 0-12 to 12-0 in 2 years' time. So I don't know. This is going to be a fascinating one. It's not going to be a dumpster fire like Tennessee's, which possible segue alert.
Segue alert.
But it's going to be interesting to see where the Noles go from here. I'm still of the opinion that anybody who is not coming after Jeff Brom at this point is an idiot.
Well, let's talk about that segue alert you just hit us with, Tennessee. So in the last week, fuck that. Since Friday, it's gone crazier. So Thursday, apparently, John Curry flew out to Washington.
L.A. Well, they met in L.A., yeah.
They met in L.A. to talk with the Pirate, Mike Leach, about coming to Tennessee. Everything looked like it was on place. Mike Leach, of course, has done fine in Washington State, but he's always been that guy who wanted to bring his special brand of insanity to the biggest stage possible and doesn't get much bigger than the winningest program in the SEC East. Curry flies back, brings it to the people. The people say, "The fuck are you doing?" Essentially, right? They essentially say, "The fuck are you doing?" And you're
for the second time they say, "The fuck are you doing?"
No. The first time they announce. The first time they sign. That's the craziest shit. Anyway, to Leach they say, "The fuck are you doing?" Which, part of me says, "Bring Mike Leach to Tennessee." Another part of me is like, the first game Mike Leach runs 8 times, they're gonna burn down Neyland Stadium. So maybe my morbid curiosity for watching stadiums burn would bring him there, but maybe you really can't bring him. Anyway, this whole surge has cost John Curry his job, and that's the surface story, which is by itself messy as shit. However, because reporting is easy these days apparently, and no one knows how to keep a damn secret, it's come out that Phil Fulmer and a selection of the Board of Regents have been poisoning everyone against Curry in the meantime. They've been calling other coaches and telling them that the toxic situation and that Curry's job was not promised and not to even take meetings with him. They've been undermining and sabotaging him with all this. And it's hard to believe unless you can remember how Phil Fulmer got the head coaching job at Tennessee.
It
Google
is
Johnny Majors. That's all I'm going to say about it.
History has a way of repeating itself.
So apparently, the rumor was Phil Fulmer is using this leverage he has. By the way, Phil Fulmer only has this leverage because
he won a national championship.
No, well that, but also because when they were hiring John Curry to be the AD in February, not February 2016, like 10 months ago, he was the last suitor. that John Curry gave him $100,000 a year, like, show me job in the athletic department, which all Phil Fulmer saw was as a foot in the door. Now, he's used said foot to kick open said door, and now usurped control of the athletic department for a 2-year contract. So, the thing that at 9 a.m. was a rumor and a joke, Fulmer's going to take this man's job, by 4:30 was a press conference and a contract.
What was great is I saw a screenshot of Brett McMurphy's tweet, and I did not see the source of it at first, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's a great joke. That's
hilarious." You're like,
yeah."
oh,
I was like, you know what, touche. Who said? Oh, McMurphy said that. Okay. At which point you're like, I almost started to feel bad for. I don't know any Tennessee fans directly. I know a couple people who got
I've
masters
heard
there.
those people from my life.
I started to feel a little bit of sympathy. And then I got a hold of myself. But my God, what a mess, man. They have been publicly turned down. Publicly is the key word here, by 6 coaches, including the coach at Duke, including the coach at NC State.
That was a weird reach out in the first place.
He's 14-24 in the SEC. He's got a worse winning percentage in the ACC than Butch Jones had in the SEC.
So let's ask a real question.
He got turned down publicly by the coach at Purdue.
So what happens when they wait too long and they get turned down publicly by T. Martin?
I think you got to go to somebody who's been in the program, Palmer.
I literally joked about this when the first rumor started about the AD thing. Phil Fulmer's gonna be the fucking coach, isn't he? This is Barry Alvarez all over again.
Well, Phil Fulmer's definitely going to coach him in the bowl. No. I thought you were going to go a different way with that, and
I know who you think.
Yeah,
I disagree.
Phil Fulmer will definitely coach a game at Tennessee sometime.
Phil Fulmer is going to be back at the fucking sideline. This has all been like a 20-year plan to get his fucking job back.
And the thing is, with Curry in place, you could have seen a path to bring Lane Kiffin back. With the guy that was fired for Lane Kiffin now in charge, Lane Kiffin, who was probably the best candidate on the potential board for Tennessee, is no longer a candidate.
I'm old enough to remember when they literally ran Lane Kiffin out of town like he was fucking Frankenstein's monster. They had pitchforks, Chad. They had flaming sticks. It was hilarious. It was a monster movie in Knoxville. It was amazing.
It was the GIF from The Simpsons where they're running Homer Simpson out of town.
That's exactly what it was.
Like, I saw Willie in there.
Groundskeeper Willie. He was there. Bright yellow with 4 fingers.
Tennessee fans are begging for them to hire Lane Kiffin back.
Chad, we've reached the point of like I've always said that Tennessee is it's the winningest program in the SEC East. It's a great job. It's a great job. It may not be a great job anymore. Like this has been an ugly week for the school.
I don't know that it's. I mean, there are schools that can pack 100,000 people into a place where things are going well.
Yeah,
but yeah, I always thought Charlie Strong would be a scary fit at Tennessee. I don't think Charlie Strong dares even touch this job with a 10-foot pole. I think he's got a good thing.
Take this job.
I think he's got.
What about this job's attractive right now?
Do what?
What about this job's attractive? You recruit East Tennessee and South Carolina, North Carolina. Congratulations, Clemson's back, and they're here with the fucking vengeance.
Western North Carolina,
Georgia,
which is basically
Atlanta.
Western North Carolina, which is basically Charlotte and then the mountains, where Charlotte has plenty of talent, but that's all going to Clemson, to a lesser extent UNC. You can recruit Atlanta against Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson.
And good luck.
Yeah. I mean, even Florida State to an extent.
Florida State started making inroads.
Where do you go to get talent? You see the way this has devolved both from an administrative and a fan base perspective over the past 10 years. Even maybe beyond that. I mean, what, Fulmer won his last SEC championship, what, in 04?
No.
Did he go down?
Maybe. Ooh, it's been a while, though. Like, you're right. We're at a place at Tennessee where I don't know how good this job is.
it's absolutely crazy to me. Basically, even if you look to go recruit in Memphis, I mean, you've got Ole Miss, which has proven to be an attractive destination for some reason for recruits. You have Arkansas, and then you have Memphis, who's probably the best program among those four right now.
Let's talk some more about the rest of the coaching carousel. Florida hit a big hit, I think,
Yep.
with Dan Mullen. I think it's a great hire. I think it's going to be a great fit there. It's going to be interesting to see. This FSU job is going to be a real interesting one to see what happens there. The albatross in the quietly, Arkansas is going to be a train wreck, and no one's paying attention.
Well,
Arkansas hire is going to go horrible.
Well, Arkansas hasn't even started their search in earnest because they're going to back up the Brinks truck to Gus Malzahn first, which after yesterday, I'm not saying it's not impossible.
Yesterday was bad for him. Let's talk about people yesterday was really good for. The playoff teams have been announced right before we recorded. Number 1, Clemson, of course, had a great dominating performance over Miami. Coach Rick, you're a year away. Coach, don't worry, Eason's on the way. We put a bow on him. Number 2, Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield did what he had to do against. It doesn't matter because it's the Big 12. Number 3, Georgia Bulldogs recovered. And number 4, the point of most consternation, would it be Ohio State in their Big Ten title, but with their embarrassing loss to Iowa? Or would it be Bama, but with their non-appearance in the SEC title game?
And their big wins over LSU and Mississippi State, if you will.
The Florida State win matters. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second.
They were the only team that had to face DeAndre Francois this year, but yeah.
That
matters.
And you can say what happened in Tallahassee as a direct result of playing Alabama first.
Yeah, Jimbo Fisher's probably still the coach at Florida State if
they don't play Bama this year.
Yeah, because
I'm sorry, they're in the SEC title game. That's how real Bama is a wasting disease. I'll never not admit that. But yeah, this is going to be the debate for weeks. Chad, for me, this is how it had to happen because I've seen months go by in Iowa without them scoring 55 points, and they gave up 50. They put 55 on Ohio State.
And that's the guy that Tennessee wanted to hire as head coach.
Loss. Say it again.
I said, and the guy responsible for that performance is who Tennessee wanted to hire as a head coach a week ago. But anyway, no, I'm glad that they picked Alabama because you still have essentially the strongest team, and losses absolutely should matter based, not on quality of losses, but on quantity of losses. And the fact is, even from a quality perspective, Ohio State got trounced by 20 points at home against Oklahoma.
Yep.
And even if you take away 24 of those points that Iowa scored, I've seen many games, I've seen half seasons where Iowa does not score 31 points. And they hung 55.
Like combine 3 or 4 of their games, it's hard to get 55 points, and they put 55 on a team that wanted another shot at Oklahoma. That wanted to, and let's be really real. This Ohio State team is fine, and they looked fine against Wisconsin. They picked up the win in not impressive fashion. They wanted no part of this Clemson team.
No. Well, we all remember what happened last year, and Clemson's defense is probably better. So, I don't know how Ohio State was going to go about scoring negative points, but there's a will, there's a way, my man.
They would find a way. Well, we're here. We're at the playoffs. So I think you and I agree. I think the committee got it right. Kate, are you going to be hearing the crocodile tears of these Ohio State fans?
Oh, man, they're going to be loud and proud. And here's the thing.
Because this is the case they made last year, right? This is the argument they made last year.
And that's what's great because you have the hypocrisy both of Nick Saban saying, last year, well, I think you should have to win your conference to get in. This year saying that he felt Alabama was deserving. And Ohio State doing the exact opposite. That made for a fun little game of foot and mouth, and it will continue to do so as the day wears on. I can't wait to hear Urban Meyer's comments on it.
Oh, he's going to be eating pizza on a golf cart.
But here's the thing. I still think they should have just twisted on us, and obviously they kept them artificially way too low for too long and still even put them at 12 today. UCF deserves a shot at this point. If you have that much concentration.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So I'm on the record. I'm anti-playoff. I will always argue that the BCS was more equitable because a team that wasn't a Power 5 team would get a shot at a BCS bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It happened. There was more access in the BCS.
Yeah, Boise State had a chance if they could kick short field.
Boise State won a Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, and a Fiesta Bowl.
And a Fiesta. Boise State finished in the top 3 in the nation. That cannot happen in this current structure. It cannot. The playoff was a bad idea. But you and I both know it's about to expand.
Oh, it will. Money talks.
But I think the biggest argument against expansion is the same reason I'm against the playoff. There generally aren't 4 great teams. There generally aren't. I think there are 3 this year.
I'm very pro playoff, and you can't really change the structure year to year based on who's good and who's not.
Right.
I would rather have a situation where you have one too many than, basically not giving a team a shot because there's not enough space. So if anything, I'm pro expanding the playoff.
See, I'm anti-expanding, and it's all from a point of the player perspective. They say these players are playing for education. Do they get more classes for the extra game? Or do people just make more money off of them? And as long as we're going to expand the financial base of it, I can't, in good faith, expand the financial base at the same time increasing the workload put on these kids, because that's where my head is. And people say, oh, I want to know the final. I want to have a final answer. No, you don't. You want the debate. That's why we have podcasts. That's why talk radio exists. You want the argument, because guess what? The first year of the playoff, what was the argument? Who else should have been in? You're not here for results. You're here for the process. And anyone who tells you otherwise is a liar. And I'm so upset at the fact that it's going to expand. These kids continue to get fucked over and out, and no one is going to say a damn thing or change one bit of it. But let's talk about the 2 games that we have ahead of us. Chad Floyd. Early, first knee-jerk reaction. Clemson is taking on Alabama. Wow, this is a Bama team that I think's got some cracks this year, and a Clemson team that has a very scary defense.
Has a very scary defense and a super not very explosive offense. Alabama should be getting healthy over the next month, and Alabama's freaking Alabama. And it's going to be at the Sugar Bowl, which is, as well as it can be in Bama's backyard. Yeah. On the flip side, I guess, having the national championship game in Atlanta does not really hurt from a travel perspective. I still got to roll with Bama, man. Just until proven vociferously otherwise, I always pick Bama, and if I'm wrong, I am rarely wrong.
That's what we call the San Antonio Spurs corollary. It's a smart corollary.
Yeah.
Great gambling advice. I'm on the fence, and this is early.
It's very early. We didn't know that this matchup would be happening until 2 hours ago.
Right, and I'm on the fence right now, but I'm leaning towards Clemson, if only because I've seen enough inconsistency in that offense for Bama that I think Clemson could really take advantage. And they generate turnovers, and for me, Clemson just feels like a more complete team. Other side of the bracket, Chad, you and I spoke privately off the air. I'll ask you now, and I still haven't decided how I'm going to play it. Oklahoma and Georgia. It's going to happen in the Rose Bowl. You're talking about getting tickets. What do you think is going to happen, man? Who do you think comes out on top, and what's your prediction?
Yeah, tickets have gone up 25 pop since we started this podcast. Man,
it's inside information.
I think Georgia's too physical for Oklahoma. It could be a situation very similar to the Auburn game yesterday where the scripted plays work. Oklahoma looks like they're going to have some momentum early on, but Georgia, just with their physicality, with hopefully the recently arrested Davin Bellamy playing on the defensive side of the ball, they're just going to be able to, jam the Oklahoma receivers at the line, made Baker Mayfield look not quite as elusive. I mean, if you spy him with a Roquan Smith or something, good luck, Heisman Trophy winner, presumptive Heisman Trophy winner.
He's going to win it,
yeah. This is a game that I see playing out where Georgia just kind of crockpots them, man. It's close early. You can see some cracks in Oklahoma's defense. As long as Georgia plays a clean, mistake-free game, this is one I see them winning going away.
Natrez Patrick was just arrested this morning for.
Oh, it's Natrez Patrick, not Davin Bellamy. Sorry, Davin Bellamy.
It's Natrez Patrick's third, which Georgia rules say you should be kicked off the team. So we'll see what happens.
We will see.
I
don't know. We got Governor Kirby in place, man.
That was Governor Kirby. He's passed a lot of shitty, weird, non-transparency having laws. So we'll see how this all shakes out. So
we won't know what Patrick did for another 90 days because Kirby got that through the Georgia Senate.
Them's the breaks. Them's the laws. So I was telling you before I didn't know how I wanted to play this in the podcast, but I think I'm going to play it straight and be completely honest with the listeners. I'm not scared of fucking Oklahoma.
Nope.
I'm not. Nothing about Oklahoma that I've seen is scary. Nothing.
I will say, just so we have some healthy.
No, I respect. Yo, Baker Mayfield's a Heisman Trophy winner and the best quarterback in the nation, and he's fun as hell to watch.
Yo, so here's the thing. Oklahoma in 13 games averaged 8.67 yards of play this year,
which is nuts.
The next highest, as far back as I can go on CFBstats.com, was Florida State at 7.65 in their national championship year. So Oklahoma, a full yard per play better than anybody else for the last 10 years. While that should be a little bit scary, it's basically the Auburn offense with a better quarterback and lesser players at every other position.
In a worse line.
Yeah, that would be that. Without SEC speed, if you will, Daniel.
Like, I'm going to be really real with you. Like, watching this defense play, I am unafraid of Oklahoma. I will talk about Clemson or Alabama when we get there. But matchup-wise, yeah, I can't fake it. I'm sorry. Look, it's not me to lie to the listeners. I can't fake it. What's a Sooner? That's me until the game. What's a Sooner?
And well, it's. I mean, they were the first people ever to jump off sides. Boo. Yeah, I didn't feel great about that one either. But
you shouldn't.
I thought I had an. You know what? I appreciate you having me on and not us doing the whole Georgia kick dog fan syndrome. Tired of that, so I appreciate that.
No,
Fuck Oklahoma. Dogs are going to win by 17.
That'll happen to me eventually. You know that's just my nature. I'm a very negative person.
Yeah.
But right now, like, off of last night and, like, looking at Oklahoma, no, feed me more, dog. Let's go. Let's play tomorrow.
Roll the ball out, man.
Roll the ball out. Let's do it. I don't care. They've been playing on the moon. Rose Bowl, whatever. Play them on the moon. This is, and I know people say, oh, it's a meme. SEC's not that much different, and I know you dropped that it means more here because I hate you.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to be really real and very clear about this. They have not seen anyone hit like this defense hits.
There's a reason why the Big 12's only been in the playoff once in the past.
There's a reason why Georgia was able to come in and dominate Auburn. They benefited from them playing Bama the week before.
Body blow theory.
There's a very real difference at the level of hitting that occurs in the SEC. Georgia had benefit. Kerryon Johnson was hurt because of Bama.
As we mentioned earlier, DeAndre Francois was out, and Jimbo Fisher is the coach at A&M because he was hurt against Bama.
Bama just made Jimbo Fisher $75 million on the strength of hurting his quarterback.
So can I take this one step too far? Can I take this one step too far?
Go too far.
Clemson edges Alabama, as you are positing. Georgia wins the national title on the strength of Clemson missing Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins and Kelly Bryant and everybody.
No, not even missing anyone. Just having to deal with Bama for 60 minutes. It's such a pain in the ass. It's such a wasting disease. And it helped going into the SEC title game that Georgia got to pick on the nerds and Auburn had to deal with Bama. Even when you win against Bama, you lose.
Kirby Smart had the long con, man. We lost to Auburn the first time, so we wouldn't have to play Alabama.
Let's just beat the nerds and go beat someone else. Like, oh, man, I'm sorry. Like, this is...
It's like we've already clinched the East. Let's see if Auburn can go out and beat Bama.
Save this podcast, please, listeners, because this is the first and probably last time you'll hear cocky sports deep home. Like, I am always Sky is Falling guy, but, like, on this, the day of our Lord, the 3rd of December, which will drop on the 1-month anniversary of my wedding, the 4th of December. I am giddy. I am hype. I am ready. What's a sooner? Damn good dogs. Chad, tell the people where to find you.
Chad_Floyd on Twitter. I will basically be making jokes about the Tennessee hiring process until it is resolved, and even then I'll probably make more jokes. If you want to look for me writing, there might be a chance I make a cameo sometime at DudeYouCrazy.net. We are mostly a podcast, so listen to the Dude You podcast if you haven't gotten enough of hearing me and Daniel talk. Me and my buddy Andrew will continue the dance on Auburn's grave there, probably dropping another episode sometime tomorrow. If you care about college basketball, I do write for TarHeelBlog.com as well. I don't write much about basketball, but hey, I'm over there.
The old bait and switch.
Mm-hmm.
You come for
and read about the outlook for UNC's 2018 football season coming off this year's 3-9. Let's go, baby.
Oh, 3-9. I would see. I wasn't even gonna bring it up. Definitely give them a listen. That's where I got my start over to the original version of Dude You podcast. I heard you guys have relaunched and I assume renumbered.
No, I don't even think we had enough. No, it's still the same podcast. There's still about 150 episodes with the dozen tones of Daniel Palmer in the background.
Oh, thank goodness.
Oh, man. There are some popular episodes that you have to go back and give a listen to.
God, you can almost run this as just a vintage Dude You podcast right here. But this has been, my name again is DPalm. Follow me on Twitter at DPalm66. Follow the show on Twitter at UDPod. If you're going to talk about the show on social media, please use the hashtag UDPod. Leave those 5-star reviews. I'll read your reviews on the air. Subscribe in the iTunes store. Subscribe specifically to this feed. And you subscribe to the MCR feed. You say, hey, I get UDPod there. No! Subscribe to the UDPod feed. That way, when I drop my quickies, when I drop the quick snaps, I drop all the little things I do during the week, you get it all. It doesn't get, there's too much content on the main feed. Make sure you lock down the individual feeds of the shows you love on the Intern Network. That was your show. This is your outro. See you guys next week.